Welcome to today's session. This is session 7 and 8, and what we're going to talk about is production planning and control. And the name of the subject is fashion material and production management for merchandisers. So the objectives for this session are as follows. We're going to look at the strategies and concepts related to production planning and control. We're going to talk about the relationship between production standards, production capacity, and production planning. Third, we're going to talk about the factors that impact productivity and measures of productivity. And fourth, the impact of resource management on productivity. And eventually, we're going to talk about the human resource, inventory, and equipment acquisition. And last but not the least, we're going to talk about the waste management and environmental concerns. A quick overview of what this topic is all about. It's about standardization and flexibility, time and money, and people and machines. When we're talking about production, mass production means producing in bulk. And if you want to produce in bulk, then you will have to standardize. Why do you have to standardize? Because it goes without saying that if you're taking bulk orders, in that case, let's say you're taking an order of about 500 pieces. You don't have to be told that all those 500 pieces have to look identical. Now, they are going to be identical only when you have standardized. So you have to standardize the patterns, the measurements, the fit, the stitching, the washing, the finishing, the packing, everything has to be standardized. Only then you're going to have 500 identical pieces packed in an identical manner. We'll talk about flexibility. Doing big orders is great. Everyone wants big orders. But in case you get small orders, you have to be flexible enough to handle those small orders. The problem with small order is that by the time you get used to making that order is already finished. And then the next order comes in. And you look at the next order and then you think, uh-oh, what is this? You try to figure that out. And then you start making. Again, you gain, speed and efficiency. And again, the order is gone. The order is already finished. So, when you have large orders, you start production today and, for about 15, 20, 30 days, you're doing the same production every day. So, you've already seen all the challenges and after a point of time, like after 5 or 6 days, your production is smooth, the speeds are great, wastages are, very, very low. And, the productivity is great. Accuracy is great. That's what a production person wants. So, when you get bulk orders, you have to standardize. But if you're getting small orders, and that is what is happening today, then you have to be flexible enough. You cannot say no to the small orders. And if you're saying yes to small orders, you have to be super flexible, because when you're doing small orders, in those cases also, you have to maintain the productivity. You still have to ensure that your margins are healthy. If you talk about time and money, time is one thing that is the most important resource of all. So when we say time, there are two aspects to it. First one is that you have given a particular amount of time to your client, that within this period of time, I'm going to deliver the goods. The other is that every day you have 8 hours of working. So people who you have hired for cutting, for stitching, for all the other activities, you have to gauge their performances with respect to the time. In what amount of time has a person produced how much, and you compare it with the industry standards to evaluate whether the person is underperforming or overperforming or is commensurate with the industrial standards. That's time. And money is the let's say the rupee that we are looking at, or maybe a dollar or a euro. And when we say money, money is the resource. And how much money are you getting for an order? How much money are you spending on raw material, on stitching and other things? And you do your quantification of all these things to figure out how much actual profit will you be able to make in a particular order. And after you've done the order, then you can see how much money you have actually spent, how much wastages have happened, how much delays have happened, any discounts that you had to give to your client and other things. So after all of that, how much money did you actually make in an order? So that is money that we're looking at. Now, if you look at the people and machines, so people are like designers or merchandisers or a security guard or a person from accounts or a pattern master or operators in the stitching floor. These are the people, and of course the senior managers, marketing people, business development heads and things like that. So these are the people, and then the machines. So you have different kinds of machines. You have old machines, you have new machines, you have new technology machines. Now, when you want to produce, you need infrastructure and you also need people and machines. As long as we are not fully automated, we will need people. Now, all said and done, you want to buy machines, German machines, Japanese machines. Anyone in the world is free to buy the machines. But at the end of the day, you will be able to survive in the market because of the people. So if you have a great team, you will be able to survive in the domestic market or export market, not because of the machines. Of course, if you're using old rickety, malfunctioning machines, that's a no-no. But if people in China or Bangladesh or India all have practically the same machines, so the differentiating factor are the people. How fast can people do things? How fast they can learn? How integral they are? How loyal they are to the organization? Even if no one is looking, they're still doing things great. They're still doing things in an efficient manner, maintaining the quality and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's going to be the people who are going to make or break the organization. So we're going to talk about all these aspects. And then, of course, the functions and the systems. Who's doing what are the functions and systems? There are different kinds of production systems. Some are automated, some are semi-automated. There are different systems for cutting, for movement of the goods, raw materials, and so on and so forth. So a large section of this session is dedicated to production strategies. And under production strategy, we're going to talk about flexible manufacturing. Flexible manufacturing is required when you have small orders. For large orders, you have to standardize. Now, flexible manufacturing is when you get very small orders. And every now and then you get 100, 200, 500, 1500 pieces orders. Now, these orders are going to be small, and no one is going to give you plain shirt or a plain trouser or plain uniforms. I mean, your orders are going to be diverse. If you're doing t-shirts, you're going to get plain t-shirts, printed t-shirts with embroidery and sequins and beads and other things. It can be placement prints, it can be all over prints. And fashion is like that. It is so diverse, and that's the beauty of it. So while you're enjoying fashion, you don't like to wear anything which is old, anything which is a repeat. So you want new things. That's what fashion is. But then when you're on the other side, when you're on the producing side, you don't like these orders because everyone wants same kind of orders because you get comfortable with certain kind of styles. But that's not the way it is when you're doing business. So the orders are going to be small, they're going to be diverse. With every order you make a zap that how am I going to handle this particular order? How am I going to do it? And how am I going to save money? On top of the small orders, the lead times are short. The amount of time that the buyer will give you to produce the order, execute the order, is short, and it's getting shorter and shorter. So today, if you get an order of, let's say, 2,000 or 5,000 pieces of plain t-shirts, the buyer is not going to give you more than 3 to 4 weeks. Now, 4 weeks it's just, by the time you realize 4 weeks are already gone. So small orders, big headache. Short lead times, you add more headache. To handle this particular situation, you have to have the capability to quickly and efficiently produce a variety of styles. Just because you have been doing, it's like you've been eating bread and butter. You want to do it every day because it's very easy. But then market is not like that. It does not give you orders which are easy. Some are easy, but then most of them are difficult because fashion is difficult. Now, flexible manufacturing can be achieved by various methods, but the key ones are like by adopting new technology and better development and use of resources and maximizing focus on the production systems. Now, when we're saying adopting new technologies today are such that it helps you to do very, very small orders efficiently and fast. So to give you an example, earlier to print a t-shirt, you had to make screen. So if you had a 4-color print on a t-shirt, you had to make 4 screens. And then you have to do other things. It would take time. We are talking about cotton. Today we have, digital printing or transfer printing or sublimation printing, wherein you want to print one t-shirt, you can print one t-shirt. There's an image on your computer, take a printout of that on the printer. There's a particular ink that is used by the printer. So you take that printout on using that ink on a paper. There's a special paper, but not very expensive. And then you put that paper onto the t-shirt and you press it for a certain amount of time with certain amount of pressure at a particular temperature. And that print image is shifted from the paper to the t-shirt. And there you are. So 15 minutes and you have one t-shirt ready in front of you, printed. Just one t-shirt. So imagine I want to get a t-shirt made. Who's going to make a t-shirt for me with a particular print? Earlier, this was the case. You had to give an order of at least 50, 100, 200 pieces. Otherwise, people would not even bother to look at you. But today, if you want to get one t-shirt printed, one mug printed, one plate printed, you can get it done because of these new technologies. Now, second is better development and use of resources. Now, develop the resources, that's your responsibility, and better use of the resources. So whatever resources you have, it can be people, it can be computers, it can be machines. So better development and use of resources is what can help you in flexible manufacturing. And of course, maximizing focus on production systems. Such systems which can give you what you want. Now, that's a very plain statement, but what I'm saying here is that if your customers are schools and you're doing uniforms for them, that's one particular situation for which you will develop a production system. Now, if there are celebrities for whom you are manufacturing, your production system is going to be so very different. You might carry your production system, the entire production system, in a van, because you might be going to the site where the movie is being shot and things like that, and they want things to be done immediately as required. So in that case, you will carry your machine and printing stuff and everything with you. So that will be a different production system. So you have to maximize focus on the production systems if you want to achieve flexible manufacturing, which is doing small order and yet making money. There's another concept which comes under production strategy, which is value added manufacturing. Now, this is a very important and a very interesting concept, and it is a quick response strategy. You get an order, you respond immediately, and you execute the order. But it sounds fairly simple, but in real life, it is not. Now, value-added manufacturing is a quick response strategy. It focuses attention on eliminating any unnecessary operations that is responsible for delay in production without increasing the value of the product. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have an order of a men's shirt. A men's shirt has, let's say, and the quantity is 2,000 pieces. Now, this men's shirt has 7 buttons, including the extra button. So, for 2,000 shirts, at the rate of 7 buttons, is 14,000. Now, instead of 14,000 buttons, you buy 15,000 buttons, let's say. Now, because there is a lot of breakage of buttons when you are buttoning the, when you are attaching the button to the shirt. Now, 15,000 buttons have reached you. Now, the person who has supplied the buttons to you would have definitely counted the buttons and then would have given you 15,000. The problem is that they will always give you less number of buttons, but they will write in the bill a higher number. So if they are giving you 15,000 buttons, they will write 15,050 buttons. You also know that this vendor is in the habit of always writing a larger quantity while giving lesser. So what do? So whenever you receive the buttons, you ask one of your persons to count the buttons. Now this person has counted the buttons. It takes, let's say, half an hour or 1 hour just to count those 15,000 buttons. It might take much more than that. Now, after the buttons have been counted, this your person says that they have written 1550 buttons, but we only have 1500 buttons. 50 buttons they have written extra. Fine. So you debit the person, or you say that we have only received 1500 buttons, so we'll pay for 1500 buttons, although you've written 1550 buttons. Now your vendor knows that he has sent 1500 buttons only, but he is going to write 1550. You have counted it, you found only 1500. Now, this is happening in the accessories department. When the production department asks for, let's say, 500 buttons on a particular day, they're not going to take all the 15,000 buttons in one single go. So, first day they ask for 500 buttons. So, you give them 500 buttons. Now, are you going to count 500 buttons again? No, you don't do that. So, what you do is, while the buttons are being counted for the first time, 15,000 buttons, you make batches of, let's say, 100 buttons, or maybe batches of 500 buttons each. So, you count 500 buttons, you put it in a polybag and seal it. Put a sellotape. Then you count another 500, and then you put another, put it in another polythene and seal it. So you have counted 15,000, and you have also made batches of 500 buttons. And when the production guy asks for 500 buttons, you give them 500 buttons. You give them one packet. Now, the person who has come from the production department, he is going to again count those 500 buttons. And only then will sign on that piece of paper that, yes, I have received 500 buttons from the accessories department. Now, the simple question is this counting by the accessories person, accessories department person, and then again being the same buttons are being counted by the production department person? Is it adding any value? No. The number of buttons are the same. Now, these are the unnecessary operations which do not increase the value of the product, but they definitely are responsible for delay in production. So you have to set up such kind of a system where your vendor does not overcharge you, does not write, inflated numbers on the bill. That's one. Take them into confidence. Number one. You don't, they count it and they give you the number. You don't count it. No one in your factory counts. So you're saving a lot of time. And when you're saving time, you're saving money. So this value-added manufacturing focuses attention on eliminating any unnecessary operation, which does not increase the value of the product and only delays the production. These are very simple, wise sentences, but then they are difficult to handle, manage. How do you do that? When you go to the bank to, withdraw money, the banker counts it. But then they also say that, you also count it, because once you have left the counter, they'll not be responsible. So what happens? They count it. So they have a counter, let's say. Thankfully, they have a counter, so they have a machine. It does the job in, let's say, 5 seconds, counting 100 notes. But when they give it to you, you count it again. But is that adding any value? No. And it is, only delaying. You are spending time over there. You will take at least 2 to 3 minutes to count 100 notes. So that is exactly against value-added manufacturing. So examples, we have activities like inspection or bundle marking or sorting. They do not add value. They only delay the production. But we do it because that's the kind of system that we have in India, where we don't have great people. We don't have scientists working in our factories. We have illiterate people, or maybe people with very limited capabilities, mentally as well as with limited mental capabilities. They are the ones who are working in your factory. They're pretty cheap, and so the problem is that you have to be on your toes. You have to have such kind of systems where you do things again and again and again, just to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Now, those are non-value-added manufacturing. So, doing inspection. Why do you have to inspect? Why do you have to check the garments? If everyone is doing their jobs properly, I don't have to check it. But here, we check every operation which is happening on every machine. I check every day, all the time. Then I check the garment, the final garment also, and so many things. We do that. We engage people, we employ people, we pay them. There's so much of time wasted. We do it. That's how we work in India. If you're talking about garment manufacturing and exports, so that's where this concept of value-added manufacturing comes in. And if you want to operate in a value-added manufacturing firms, if you want to operate in value-added manufacturing, then the companies or you must evaluate the processes and find more efficient ways to produce a product. So if you can do things more efficiently, doing better quality, you won't have to inspect. You'll be saving a lot of time and money.